And we are here and live, waiting for our man Michael, our fearless leader. I'm Joel, and Mike Johnson. Carrie's here. Good morning, Carrie. Michael's coming in, and here he is.
People are piling in. Here we come.
There he is, the wise sage. Or Jerry Garcia come back to life.
All right. There's scriptures about this. A gray head and some gray.
Yeah.
Is there a scripture about trying to cover up the gray? Because there's a little bit of hair coloring here.
I don't know. Just for men. So.
Hello.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very good. Very good.
Lucas is here. Gary's here.
Mike Johnson's here.
Mike Johnson.
AC Cruz piling in.
Not sure what Mike's talking about, but
let's see. They can shift that.
AC, good morning. All right, sir.
I don't know what FFL means. It's not coming to mind.
All right.
So how's your week going, sir?
My week is going all right. Yeah. I'm trying to train a dog, a big dog.
Is it like a rescue?
Yeah. Rescue. That's all we do. That's all we do is more Sabrina.
Chantel, good to see you. Hi, Sabrina.
Oh, Chantel. Sorry. Miss Chantel.
Or not Sabrina again.
There's Chantel. They keep moving up and down.
Yeah.
Good morning, Chantel. Sorry about that. Yeah. All right, sir.
All right. Give me your first reaction when you heard this about the pardoning. Biden pardoning Biden. Biden pardoning himself. Sorry. Go ahead.
The very first time I saw it, I thought it was a fake, like a clickbait thing. So I didn't pay any attention to it. The next morning, all HE double hockey sticks was breaking loose. So then I thought, oh, wait a minute, that was real. He really did that. So can't say I'm surprised. Did you believe him when he said he wouldn't do it?
Good question. I mean, I love what you said. It totally looks like clickbait. Totally, right? It's like that's we tend to listen to your conservative points of view, etc. And so whatever clickbait will be coming our way would be along those lines. But yeah, we live in an era that I was listening to somebody last night that was giving their assessment of Congress just put out their COVID report, right? They did their definitive investigation of COVID and just released it. And the guy said, so what's your take on this report that Congress put out? And he said, bottom line, just to make it simple, everything you were told was a conspiracy theory actually is the truth. Actually, everything you thought or were told was like, that's conspiratorial, actually turns out to be the most likely scenario. Yeah, it was devised in a lab, blah, blah, blah.
Who put that out? I did not see that, actually.
It just came out, I don't know, it was just yesterday.
Sorry for the noise. I got a little desk problem here.
Squeaking and squealing over there.
Squeaking and squealing. Sorry about that.
So, in that climate where, we've been just literally running in the opposite direction, every headline for the last 8 years, every headline from the mainstream media for the last 8 years have been fabrications and lies, etc. So you asked me a question. Did I believe him when he said he wouldn't pardon him? I didn't believe him for a second. I did not believe when he said he's not going to pardon his son. I didn't believe it. I mean, the charges that he was actually convicted of were so nominal, so compared to all of the evidence, the crimes that there's evidence for, right? He was just like tax fraud or tax evasion or and an illegal gun charge, right? Like, how about treason against your country, right? How about selling out state secrets for
Right.
selfish gain, right?
Being
How
an
about
agent
those
of a foreign country.
agent of a foreign country
Yes.
taking unrighteous gain? How about that? So I was like, yeah, he'll get pardoned. And I thought he'll get a blanket pardon that'll cover everything. And lo and behold, this, most people, when they get a pardon, it's for a specific crime, right? They get pardoned for a specific thing, and then, maybe some things pertaining to it. This is an 11-year pardon. Everything dating back from
2014, yeah.
2014, right? It's just like, wait, what? All the way back. And it's all encompassing. Can never be convicted of anything illegal he did in this time frame. So I was like, this he has to do it, right? Joe Biden, I mean, he's on his last legs. Who knows how much time he has? Like, he's an old guy. He's going to die soon. And so in that sense, he didn't really have to do it because, he's going to be gone. But he's got a legacy that he's trying to, I don't know, he's got family that he's trying to protect. When he's gone, there's still a bunch of other people that are complicit that are going to have to suffer repercussions under this the new incoming administration. And it's like, this guy's pardoning himself, right? Hunter Biden, the laptop, that's all evidence that implicates directly, not without question. Again, remember, this is not conspiracy theory that I'm spewing here. It's all being confirmed, and it's everything we've thought in the past is being confirmed and is now being confirmed, that Joe Biden goes, I have to pardon myself. So his son is the pardon of his son is it's the pardon of himself. That's how I see it.
Well, yes. And what would you like your legacy to be? That you pardoned your family member when you said you wouldn't, or that you were guilty of how many different felonies and possible treason counts? Which would you rather have?
Pick
rock and hard place. I'll take the rock on
poison.
this one. The hard place is a little bit more than So
Right.
Either way, it's going to go bad for the Biden family from here on out. So you might as well make it just that, I was a loving father. You could also say I was a loving father. Any father would do that.
Yeah. Spin. Yeah.
Very few fathers would have a coke-addled son.
Somebody asked me, my wife asked me, she goes, I guess she read somebody saying, would Trump have pardoned his son in the same circumstances? And I'm like, okay, this is a tough question because we have the president complicit in this stuff. So that's a different scenario. Trump is not sorry.
It's all right.
Trump is not complicit in that scenario. It would be if one of Trump's sons was taking bribes or was doing that. I don't think he would pardon him. It's like Trump is as squeaky clean a politician as you're ever going to get. He's the most investigated man.
Well, and plus, if that was happening to Trump's family, the machinery of Washington, D.C. would be, and the Justice Department would be cranking full gear to get them both.
Yeah.
It's
there's no comparison, really.
So
there's
really no comparison. It's funny though when you said the take. I think Al Mohler, I was listening to his take on it, and he said, "Isn't it interesting that the two specific charges that were pardoned were one, tax evasion, and two, breaking gun laws?" Well, what are two of the sacred cows of the Democratic Party? Taxes, everybody, the rich should pay their taxes, right? Their fair share,
right.
And gun control. And that's what he's pardoned from. So that just
take your money and take your guns.
That's right. Cling to your money and cling to your bitter clinger.
The height of hypocrisy, right? The height.
Oh yeah.
Even the minor charges that they settled on to convict him with just splash back right in their faces, right?
Yeah, and but then they tend to do that. There is just no consequence for all this blatant hypocrisy, and they put the worst presidential candidate you can possibly imagine. But they still got 70, 60, 70 million votes.
Yeah.
People will. I hear that coming up in the Trump administration, the press briefings will be attended by legacy media and bloggers and online news organizations. And that might be that little fact right there to me is a history changer.
That's a game changer for sure.
It completely is.
You're going to get real questions in there.
Real questions. And it legitimizes and the blogosphere, if you call it that.
Yep.
And it just drives another nail into that legacy media of nobody believes you anymore, and you can't filter things anymore.
It forces them into a corner, or
it does.
Forces their back against the wall.
And they better start asking the legacy media better start asking real questions.
Yeah.
And they better start. They're in survival mode now. They have to do this now.
Yeah.
They can no longer ignore things like
that press secretary, that new press secretary. I don't remember her name, but she's gonna. I get a feeling she's pretty much going to humiliate anybody with stupid questions, right? It's just gonna. Now back to the pardon.
One other thing, legacy media. Before I was just doing some last minute kind of research on this. Did you see the clip with Chuck Schumer at his press conference? He just came out. I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday morning, and he said, "Okay, I'll take any questions. What about the pardon of Hunter Biden? I got nothing for you on that. Any other questions? Well, on this pardon for Hunter Biden, what do you?" I guess he spends a whole minute of his minute and a half
deflecting.
See, I've got nothing for you. I don't. Any other subject, anyone with about the pardon, what do you? And it was just like, I'm like, and the look on his face was just like, you're not doing what I tell. You're not following my lead.
Aren't getting my cue. Come on,
aren't you?
It's over. Yeah, the stranglehold that the deep state has had is over. Right? Yeah. We've all been skeptical for a while. Oh, Trump was voted in for one presidential term, and we'll see. Oh, he wasn't able to do everything he needed to do. It is over. And I've reflected on this at, the 2016, November 8th, 2016 was the moment that everything changed, right? We've seen a lot since then in the last 8 years, but that was the moment everything changed for an outsider to squeak through their corrupt, they dropped the ball. She didn't go to Wisconsin. Hillary didn't go wherever, right? It was a razor thin margin. And that's all it took was that spillway that just kept flowing now. And now what they thought, this protective reservoir that they were holding on to, the wall has just come down, right? And it's a flood for, what's his name? The doctor who was canceled when he came up with his COVID protocols, right? I forget where he was. I forget his name.
Guy from Stanford.
Yeah, the California professor and doctor who had all these protocols. It's like, well, we should do this. This is what science would indicate what we should do. And he gets canceled.
His last name begins with W.
He's in charge of the NIH, right? That the guy who was canceled by the NIH for saying that stuff is now at the head of it, right? Kash Patel being at the head of the FBI, the guy who undid the Russia nonsense, Russia nonsense. Like, it's over, right? The BS is over. Now, here's my question. I don't mean over, obviously, but with Democrats going, you lied to us, Biden. Now you're pardoning your son. It's like it just gets worse and worse for them, which means they're not only were they crushed in this election, but they're going to continue to shrink and shrink and shrink. Now, my question on the pardon is, he can't be prosecuted, can't be investigated. Oh, but he can still be investigated. maybe not by the government and law enforcement, but independent journalism does not stop, right? This
No.
stuff is going to come out and be, his legacy is tarnished forever. He was thinking, all right, I'm going to, this was Biden's Justice Department. I'm going to pardon my son and we're going to convict Donald Trump of all this stuff, right? He thought the lawfare was going to work and that he was going to win again, or that his successor would win again, and all of this would be swept under the rug. That's been the plan all along. We're going to maintain power, and we're going to be able to continue to cover this up. He's a convicted felon. He'll never be president. And it all just like it all went the opposite direction for them. So it's just going to be a glorious future, uncovering all this corruption. And every news organization covering it, and the mainstream media that wants to survive is going to have to cover it.
Yes, that's the thing, and they will. And also, something Al Mohler also said was that he now cannot take the Fifth Amendment. So if there's any further investigation of his father, his father, he really didn't pardon himself, because if they start an investigation further without Hunter into this whole thing, he can't take the Fifth. And he can be held in contempt of Congress, I guess, or contempt of court. And now being in contempt of Congress used to mean nothing. They could, what's his name? The two lovers that were getting Trump.
Strzok and Page?
Yes. They can't smirk anymore if they're saying, I'm lying to you. I'm obviously lying to you. But there's nothing you can do about it. I'm going to keep doing it. They can hold him in contempt of Congress, but who cares? Nobody, if you don't enforce it, it might as well not be a law. Well, now anybody that's in contempt of Congress or contempt of court in DC, there's no guarantee that you're not going to see jail time.
Yeah.
So he can't take the Fifth because he's not under any threat of prosecution. He can't be incriminated with something he's been pardoned for, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of opens a door for further investigation of this whole thing, because there are more people than just Joe and Hunter.
Yes. Speaking of further investigations, what AC Cruz is indicating here, the list of people with security clearance in our government that put their names to that letter declaring the Hunter Biden laptop Russian propaganda, right? The list of reputable, respected government, security professionals. They're every single one of them. I bet Kash Patel's already been preparing these indictments. That guy, it's like a kid in a candy store right now. Like Kash Patel in charge of the FBI. Yeah. It's like they're gonna,
and that's the most important. I think him and Bondi, the Attorney General.
Yeah.
Those are the two most important appointments he's made.
Yeah.
Because you have to get this taken care of. We cannot have a 2-tiered, 3-tiered, 4-tiered, however many tiers justice system that it is.
Yeah.
That's where the Republic is at stake the most.
It seems like they are, they've already gone through long before Doge, right? Before Doge, they were already thinking through like what government agencies, what can we do with them? Which ones can we, like Department of Education, gone, right? I honestly, I think they're following through on that. It's going to be gone. I believe it. And absolutely. But the FBI was probably the one like, I don't know that we can just get rid of the FBI. Yes, we can, but maybe it's better to reform it. Maybe it is better to reform it. And we'll see.
Well, yeah, which is, so you reform it, say you recreate it, you level it to the ground, rebuild it. In 50 years or so, it's going to be the same corrupt. You give federal power to a police force, for how many years? 50 years. It was a one-man show, right? J. Edgar Hoover. And how corrupt was he? Okay, well, he left. That kind of broke down that structure of it. And that was when I was a kid, 72, I think. Well, now here 50 years later, it's metastasized into this swamp. It's a swamp of its own, right? So I think they have to rebuild it. I don't think they would tear it down or get rid of it.
Yeah.
But I think they have to tear it down, and rebuild it. But you're just
A radical
Radical.
reformation or
but it still
reconstruction.
is, again, you give centralized power to a police agency, it's going to be corrupt. It's going to.
And I think he was referring, I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Cash or so. There's that is it the Hoover Building where the FBI is?
Oh yeah, the ugliest building you've ever seen. Oh my gosh.
He said, what did he say? He said, shut it down, reopen it the next day as a museum, right? As a museum of the deep state. He said there's 7,000 people in that building doing what? They're all jockeying for a promotion into some other position in government. Every one of those people in that building, under the pretense of protecting our nation, are genuinely only trying to climb the ladder. They're trying to use that as a resume to advance, become a senator maybe, or a congressman or something, right?
And Mike, you just described all of Washington, D.C. We go, I know. Took my family there to show them history, right? And we did. I mean, we saw obviously Lincoln Memorial, Jefferson Memorial, which is the most gorgeous thing in the world. The Washington Monument, which people say it's a symbol of a certain kind of power.
It's an obelisk. It's an obelisk.
Right. But there is giant government building after giant government building all over DC. And it's all just carbon copies of that FBI building. There, it just reeks with centralized power. George Washington has been spinning in his grave for 150 years because Washington, D.C. has become what it's become. And we were at the Lincoln Memorial, and they said the Lincoln Memorial, people would only go there in the summer. They couldn't go there in the winter because it was too cold. And besides, the congressmen were at home, and nobody really came to D.C.
They were working their farms. They were working their jobs. They were
back in their constituents.
They had jobs.
And I'm like, that's what we need to get back to, where DC is empty. DC has to be empty half of the year. Then we'll be where we need to be. And that will not happen in 4 years. So,
well, I love what one of the things he said. He says, take all of those 7,000 law enforcement officers in that building that just go to that building and send them across the nation to catch the bad guys. It's like, he send them out, go fight crime, go. And that'll weed them out, right? They'll look for other jobs if they don't want to actually do it. It's going to reduce and disperse and rehire and hire the right people. And so it's a once in maybe several generation moment that we're right at the front end of, at the crest of. It began with the 2016, but this is we're seeing the God sent tidal wave sweeping. A lot of damage going to be done, but a lot of healing and rebuilding coming the wake of it.
Yeah, a lot of sowing what you have reaped. One other thing, I listened to Clay Travis, the Outkick guy, who I like. He was saying this morning that maybe on day one, Trump will pardon all the J6 people. What do you think of that?
Probably 95% of them. There were. Here's my question. Well, that's going to be properly investigated, and maybe they've already made a bunch of headway. It's like there's so much footage that they'll have access to, and like, okay, which of these guys were feds or working with the feds to inspire bad behavior? Those people who are probably not locked up right now should be locked up, right? And then there are some that were just, fell for it and broke the law, and those ones should remain. The vast majority of the rest, a blanket pardon. It's going to happen. It's going
for all the
to
people
happen.
that walked in the building because the police opened the door and said, "Come on in."
Tell you all the books that are going to come out for all the people that have been sitting there, biding their time, like sitting in solitary confinement, knowing 100% that they have been unjustly prosecuted or not even prosecuted. There are some sitting there with no charges ever filed that are detained. And it's some, some people don't have the mental fortitude, and there were those who, what they say these days, unalived themselves, a few that just couldn't handle it. There are going to be people coming out with glorious testimonies of this, knowing this day was coming, knowing that God was not going to leave them there. It was not going to abandon them there to this evil, corrupt government, that Donald Trump is going to set them free, and they are going to be worshiping Jesus. Not that Trump is the savior. It's like, that's the thing. We get people on our side, or some Christians like, I don't believe in a man. I don't think we should be worshiping. Donald Trump is the man that God sent for this time. He's the only one that could have done this. He's the only one. He was designed precisely, specifically by God to handle this. And he's the one. Plug your nose, and
Mike, when you
and
do
rejoice.
You do that, you got to do the kind of the Trump. He does it a little more like.
Right.
There you go.
It's going to be huge. I should actually work on a Trump. Huge. I should work on a Trump imitation.
Yeah, you really should. So.
I'm my own man.
No, you're right. It is, he is the wrecking ball. I always say it, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man rampaging. And they created it. They chose the destructor. They could have seen this coming 8 years ago and said, you know what? If we're to stay in power, we can't resist this. But it's funny. It's so entrenched. It's almost like they're almost like comic book villains that thought they could get away with it.
Right. They're so short-sighted, right? They're very short-sighted. Yeah. They believe all these strategies will work 100%, and they don't game plan for failure, right? They don't have, it's like they put all their eggs in one basket. We're going to convict him. He's going to be a convicted felon. Nobody will vote for a convicted felon, except that it's so transparent that it was a political prosecution that nobody will believe that he's really a convicted felon, and they will vote for it. It's like they just can't see past their nose.
No, they really can't.
Glory to God.
He's blinded. He's put blinders on.
Yeah.
Fools. Yeah. This is Proverbs. Take every verse in Proverbs to talk about a fool.
Yeah.
And this is what we're seeing. So
it's glorious.
And 8 years ago, I thought Donald Trump was a fool.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, maybe he's the fool that God is going to use. And like I said, if it needs to be, that was my reasoning when I voted for him. 8 years ago. But if he's going to burn everything down, tear everything down, do it now. So we'll have time.
Yeah.
Might as well do it as soon as possible so we have time to rebuild. Well, I didn't expect to fight the resistance that he got. But the fact that he's back after taking that wing shot to the ear.
Oh my gosh.
It's just, there's got to be, he is a different cat, man. He is the single, like I said, that I think he might turn out to be the person of the 21st century.
Yeah. We're sitting on the front row watching this incredible show unfold right before our eyes.
He's Winston Churchill and a little bit of Abraham Lincoln, and maybe a little Ronald Reagan, but he doesn't have, the gentleness of Reagan, but he is bulldog like Churchill.
And that was required. I'm telling you, every tweet that even then when the conservatives were complaining, I wish he'd stop tweeting. I was like, no, every time he tweets something that's crazy, it exposes the left even more, right? They jump on everything, and every tweet, it's like, maybe I would cringe at some of the things he said, but it's like, no, this is what it takes to flesh out the nonsense. It's like it was a clear divide. It was all pre-scripted by the Lord. And
it says so much that a lot of the crazy stuff he's saying will turn out to be true.
Right.
That says volume.
He's not mincing words, right? You can get it straight from a guy who's looking at the documents himself. I just reflect back on I think it was the second presidential debate when he was sitting there with Hillary. And at that time, I had been a Marco Rubio. It's like I'd settled on Marco Rubio, and then everybody lost and it was Trump. And I'm watching the debate and I'm like, I honestly was like, these are the two, like, obviously I'm going to vote for Trump, but these are the two choices I have. That was the last time I felt that way. When he won and went, it was like, oh God, thank you. All right. We're out of time.
We are.
Hallelujah. That's a good one, Joel. Good to see you, my friend.
You too, Michael.
Bye, everybody. Here, I'll click end stream.
You're gonna take it? Okay.
Yeah, I'll take it. And